Cubo2 here, back with another episode of my TARDIS tutorial. In this episode we're going to be covering the TARDIS status readout, so I'll just show you that real quick. So if we press the monitor, I've added this new button here which says show status readout, and if we click it, it'll say TARDIS status, in-flight false, locked false, location ID 2, desktop ID 26, exterior ID, phase type, and who the pilot is. So yeah, you can just have this neat little thing in the chat telling you, who's who, what's what, and what kind of mode the TARDIS is in. And obviously if we start changing things, it's going to change with it. We change the exterior to something else. It's going to change all of this. So we click it again. Status readout. You see now it'll say locked is true, and the exterior ID has changed. If we went and change the phase type, that would also change as well. We can literally just go back to here and click. But yeah, exactly what it says on the tin. It tells you the status of the TARDIS, basically. So how does this all work? Well, you're going to want to start with whatever mechanism you use to detect when that button's pressed. In this case, it's just executing if the button is powered. And if so, it'll activate all of these. Most of these are just related to the other functions. However, I think, it was this one that specifically relates to this feature. And this is bringing up a TELRAW command. It's executing for @A specifically with the tag inside and tag pilot. So a pilot who's inside the TARDIS. And then you want to open and close some curly brackets. And inside there, you want to write text in quotations, colon, and then some more quotations. And inside that, you want to write whatever message you want to write, which in this case would be show status readout, and that's your little button you're going to press. And then you want to do a comma, and then inside quotations as well, color, colon, aqua, and that just refers to obviously the color, and each time you want to add a new section like a color or something, you would just do a comma like this, and make sure you do your quotations. And so for another one, we would have a click event, and a click event just means this is what's going to happen when you click on that TELRAW in the chat. And basically, we want to open curly brackets, and then inside there, we have action, colon, run underscore command, and then comma, and then you want to do for the value, this is going to be what the command actually is that it's running, which in this case is a set block command. So you're going to write this exactly how you would in the chat if you were typing it out, including the slash, and it's just set blocking a redstone block at certain coordinates, and then you want to close your curly brackets. So yeah, that's basically how that works, and that will just bring up that little menu. You can click it, and then that'll bring up the actual menu. So what it's doing is it's setting a redstone block right here, and I can just show you kind of how that works by placing in a block of redstone, and what it'll do is it'll place it here, and it'll execute all of these and these. So basically what these do here is this one is just very simple. It's just a play sound command for a sound effect. This is a custom sound effect from my resource pack. Obviously you can do whatever you want right here though. This is just setting that exact same block that was right here back to air, so that it basically only stays as a redstone block for one tick, like such. Basically the moment this gets powered, it instantly turns back to air. And this right here, repeater, also gets powered in that one tick. And this powers these, and these control the actual display itself. So these are basically just more of these TELRAWs. So this first one is doing TELRAW, the same player, inside pilot, and it's telling them text TARDIS status in the color blue. And that's obviously just that title at the top, TARDIS status. And then the rest of these are going to be your different stats that it's going to tell you. So in this case, this is for the in-flight stat. This is for true. And what it's doing is it's executing if entity @E name equals TARDIS demat. So if the TARDIS is dematerialized, then it's going to run TELRAW, that same player. And what you want to do is put this inside of these square brackets this time, because that's so that when you close your curly brackets, you can actually immediately put a comma and open another one in order to put another element of text on the same line. And so for these elements, what you're going to do is text in flight, and then color gold. Obviously, again, you can do whatever you want with these. Don't just do what I do. But then this next text is rather important because it's the true, telling whether it's true or false. And what you want to do is also have a space right here, because it won't actually put a space between these two in the chat itself unless you like specify that you want a space by putting a space. So yeah, that's just one condition for true, but we also have conditions for false. So this one is for false for in flight, and this is executing unless entity at e name equals TARDIS DMAT, and unless entity at e name equals TARDIS fly. So if it's not dematerialized and it's not in manual flight, then it will tell the player that in flight is false. And we also have right here, this is just executing if TARDIS fly and telling the player that the TARDIS is indeed in flight. So exactly the same as this, pretty much, just executing for TARDIS fly instead of TARDIS DMAT. So yeah, let's move on to this next one. And the next section would be telling whether the TARDIS is locked. So obviously we have execute if entity TARDIS locked, and if that is true, then it will tell them that locked is true. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Obviously you need to lock in order to dematerialize. So I also have here execute if entity name equals TARDIS DMAT. It'll tell raw that the TARDIS is locked true. We also have right here for execute unless TARDIS locked, and unless TARDIS fly, and unless TARDIS DMAT, then it'll tell the player that locked is false. And this one is just for TARDIS fly, telling that the TARDIS locked is true, like such. And then right here, we move on to the next section, which in this case is moving on to telling the ID of the location. Now the ID actually just refers to a scoreboard value. Obviously yours might be a bit different if you don't use scoreboards for keeping track of your locations and your exteriors and whatnot. But if you do, or use a scoreboard for literally anything, this is going to come in handy. So what you do is tell raw that player, and we have location ID, and then what you're doing in your second set is score. So you're going to tell the player a score from a scoreboard, and the objective you're getting it from is here within another set of curly brackets, and the objective in this case is called cyclers. Obviously it might be different for you. And then the name of the fake player it's gathering the score from is called locations in this case. So that'll tell you the specific score for that location, which for the case of the spawn of my map is 2, and obviously it'll be different just depending on where you are. And right here, this is very similar, but this is for the desktop or the interior. And in this case, obviously it's pulling from the desktop fake player, which is also in the cycler's objective in this case. This one is for the chameleon circuit. Again, it's basically the exact same thing, and I'm just calling it exterior ID. The final one is the pilot, just telling you who the pilot is. So obviously we have text pilot, and then for this next part we have selector, and selector is just gathering one of those at A's, at P's, things of that nature. And in this case it's gathering at A tag equals pilot, so it'll tell you whoever the pilot is. And in this case that would be me, or in your case it might be you. So yeah, that's everything basically that the menu will tell you. Obviously, again, you can customize this to your heart's content, make it tell you literally whatever you want. And just to demonstrate one last time, we have our status readout, telling us everything we need to know about our TARDIS. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. This has been my video on the TARDIS status readout. Hope you all enjoyed. I've been Tebow2. Be sure to subscribe, to follow my Instagram, Tebow2IT, to follow my Twitter, which is also Tebow2IT, to join my Discord, and lastly, to have a nice day. Goodbye.